Spike Cohen.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Spike Redbeard the Pirate Cohen, I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom.
Where was the Jew part in that?
There wasn't a Jew part in that, but you have a red.
You said Redbeard the Pirate.
You have a red beard.
Hey, folks, thanks so much for tuning in.
First and foremost, allow me to thank Justin for the cava I am drinking on this week's episodes.
And allow me to thank Le Bleu for this delicious water that I am drinking, Bulavanaka.
Bulavanaka.
This, of course, is a Muddy Waters Media production. Check us out on all social media platforms, all podcasting platforms, including whatever you are listening or watching this on right now. And whatever you are listening or watching this on right now, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, whatever the thing is that allows you to continue getting our content on this thing, whatever it is. And if it is YouTube, then don't just subscribe, hit the bell. Be sure to hit the bell. We want your phone, your device to explode with notifications every time we go live or do anything. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And if you have not yet, make sure, in order to get 100% of that fantastic Muddied Waters content that you all love so much, be sure to head on over to anchor.fm/muddiedwaters/subscribe. Whilst you are there, you will get an extra show of content every week. Whilst you are there, you're going to get an extra episode every week that's made just for subscribers. And you're going to get discounts at the Muddied Waters Media store. You're going to get discounts at Stitches and Glitches or Defy the Power. And just so much more. So much more. And I absolutely no spoilers, but you are going to want to hear this week's subscribers only episode.
It's pretty. We just finished recording it. It's pretty freaking cool.
It's pretty cool.
I'm super excited. If you've been on the fence, get off the fence. Go sign up right now. Holy crap. It was super cool.
It was super
cool. You know what else is super cool? Caffeine. But not as much caffeine as is in coffee. No, 1/7 specifically of a cup of coffee. And I know where you're thinking, where are you going with this, Spike? Well, I'm going to the Mudwater Mushroom Coffee Replacement Cacao Rapid Fire segment brought to you by Mudwater, which has, yes, 1/7 of the caffeine of a cup of coffee. I finally said that correctly.
You did.
I think for the first time I've ever done this, I actually said the phrase 1/7 of the caffeine of a cup of coffee twice now.
Without tripping.
Because I drink Mudwater, and that's why. And I know what you're thinking. Is it good? No, it is not. It is not good. It's good for you. It has mushrooms, turmeric, sea salt, cinnamon, the masala chai, and literally nothing else. That's it. That's all that's in it. And you're going to think, yum. But no, you're not going to think yum. If you put enough honey in anything, you'll say yum. But if you don't, what you'll say is, I hope this is good for me. Well, it is. It's really good for you. It's got neuroprotective factors. But it also has just enough caffeine to get you ready to go and ready to face the day, but not so much caffeine that it hurts your health later in life and makes you think, I wish I hadn't drank all that coffee. I wish I had drank Mudwater. Well, you can do that by going to the muddiedwatersoffreedom.com/mud.
Yes. It's so funny, because you are correct. It does not taste good at all. And this is coming from a person who drinks literal mud every.
Yeah. This tastes worse than kava, but it's really good for you.
It does.
It's like
it is really it is really good for you. So
just put some honey in it.
Put honey in it.
Honey in it. It's nice. It's sweet. Honey's good for you too.
Get some nice local honey. It'll help with allergies.
Local organic honey. Yeah. Help with your allergies. You feel better. It's good for you.
Yeah. So we hope everybody out there had a fan-damn-tastic 4th of July weekend. By that, we mean we hope you weren't on one of the 28.8% of flights that were canceled and or delayed this weekend.
Holy crap.
A
third of the flights were canceled.
Or delayed. But not to worry. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is here to alleviate your worry when it comes to traveling in the future. He tweeted, this is what the totally successful and not at all failure of a mayor or presidential candidate, Pete Buttigieg, has to say. Sometimes an airline will offer you points or miles as compensation, but you are entitled to a cash refund when your flight is canceled. When deciding whether to accept miles, it is helpful to know their value, which varies, but often is estimated at 1 to 1.5 cents per mile. For example, my connecting flight got canceled last night. At first, the airline offered 2,500 miles, which I estimate is worth about $30. But I claimed the refund for the canceled portion instead, and it worked out to be $112.07. So, what we learned about Pete Buttigieg is he is willing not to see his family or friends for $112.
On a holiday weekend.
On a holiday weekend. $112 is what it costs to buy Pete Buttigieg away from his family.
That is Pete Buttigieg's price.
That's his price.
Everyone has a price. The Transportation Secretary of the United States of America's price is $112.07 exactly. Possibly less.
But he may have gone less. We know that that's what they offered, and he went, okay.
Oh my gosh. That's like the joke. The guy walks up to a woman and says, "How much to spend the night with you?" And she goes, "Oh, how dare you ask me something like that?" And he goes, "I'll give you $1 million." And she says, "Okay, fine." And he goes, "Okay, how about 100?" And she goes, "Oh, I would never do that. How dare you?" And he said, "No, we've already established that you have a price. Now we're just negotiating." For Pete Buttigieg, if he said 100. Pete would say, "How about 112.07 cents?" Specifically,
it's that 7 cents that's what puts it over the edge.
It's that 7 cents.
It's more than 112. I am in.
It sounds like a lot more, right? Like 112.07 There's like 5 additional syllables there.
Right. It's like the opposite. Like when they offered it to him, they did the opposite of like what gas stations do, where they're like today it's $4.86 .9.
99.
Yeah, point and 9/10. And people are like, well,
9/10. Yeah, they do the opposite.
Right. But airlines are like, we're gonna go, a couple of cents higher, and they'll take it. And Pete fell for it. Yep. Like so many other things.
Yes. Speaking of falling for it, the man that 81 million people voted for sent probably the dumbest tweet ever. Possibly. In an effort to sound as authoritarian and economically illiterate as possible, he said, "My message to the companies running gas stations and setting prices at the pump is simple. This is a time of war and global peril. Bring down the price you are charging at the pump to reflect the cost you're paying for product, and do it now." The gas station. That was his tweet. Okay? That was him saying, "I know how to handle this." And they're like, "Mr. President Biden, please." No, that's not how it works. There's a supply chain and there's a bottleneck at the refine. Nope. It's the gas station.
That was, okay, I'm saying that was not his tweet.
Okay.
And my reasoning for that is I wish we had this video. When he came up with one word to describe America, it was... Have you not seen this video?
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it, no.
Okay, so...
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him...
That is why I'm saying he didn't write this tweet.
That's fair. No, I'm now... You're right. Who looked at this? Okay, we've talked about this on the show like endlessly. You can't blame the corporations. You have to blame the conditions of supply and demand that have been created by government policies here in the U.S. and really throughout the Western governments. They have decided that they were going to get all their fossil fuels from other countries that were outside of the first world, because then they could claim that they were being environmentally friendly. All that meant is that there would just never have to be any kind of unrest at all, and that every single one of those countries had to be under the boot heel of those the Western countries, including the U.S. That didn't happen, and now because of just a handful of issues in countries like Russia and Venezuela and a couple other countries, now the supply is greatly restricted and impacted. That's coupled with things like the refinery being at full capacity, the U.S. refining ability being at full capacity because they aren't allowed to build new facilities, and because the cost of the raw materials, thanks to the war on trade that Democrats and Republicans have done, have driven up the cost of that. Like there are all these different policies, and we've talked about them ad nauseum on this show, have led to the price of fuel and the price and the availability of fuel being such a problem. And so Joe Biden's team says the gas stations, who are often selling fuel at a loss.
So actually, let's go into that because we have graphics.
The gas station?
So most gas stations in this country are owned by an individual operator. 57% of people who own gas stations own one station. They own one singular station. So that means that they are purchasing this gas on an open market. They aren't going through, they're not going through ExxonMobil or, through BP or whatever. They are purchasing it on the open market, which cuts down on their profit immensely because they don't have like their wholesaler that's going to give it to them on the cheap. So in your average tank of gas at 409, which this was a chart from April 13th, so you can see how well we've done. As of April 13th of 2022, when the average gas was 409, 209 was crude oil, which, as it says here, the stuff that comes out of the ground. 70 cents went to the refinery process. 70 cents is taxes, federal, state, fees, whatever. 32 cents was transport, and 28 cents, give or take, this is where the give or take is the markup that the gas stations are doing. And after you take out overhead and things like that, most gas stations are profiting somewhere between 3 and 7 cents per gallon, which means that over the course of a day, most of them make about $200 on gas alone.
Yeah. And that's before you factor in taxes. And also a lot of them, if they're in more competitive markets, so 3 cents to 7 cents on average, that includes, there are some where they may be the only gas station in town, so they can mark it up a little bit more. In ones where there's a lot of competition, they're often selling it at a loss or at, or pretty much at parity, because they're hoping that they're not making money from this. They're making money from what they can upsell you on car washes, on the food,
that's inside.
On soda, on whatever, or getting you to sign up for one of their credit cards and save a discount. Oh, by the way, if you sign up for one of their cards and you're getting a discount, do the math. If they give you a 5 cent or 10 cent discount, they are definitely selling it at a loss, because they want you to be have your loyalty as a customer and get you to buy more stuff in the store. Yep. That's the whole purpose of it. The fact that Joe Biden's team, the fact that the people running this country put out a tweet blaming the gas stations, and then so there's the economic illiteracy of it. There's the authoritarianism of it. You better do this, bring down the price right now, and charge what you're paying. They about are.
Yeah.
Charging what they're paying. And then ending it on "and do it now," which not only is very authoritarian, it's an empty threat, and everyone knows it. it's Joe Biden again saying, "You better do what I say," and everyone shrugging and going, "No."
No.
And then nothing happens.
Right.
And it's hard to look like both economically illiterate and authoritarian and weak and powerless at the same time.
Yep.
I got no other ideas, so you better do this. No? Okay, then I got no other ideas.
So
The shellacking that the Democrats are about to get is in the midst of things like Roe v. Wade being overturned, which should be a slam dunk for them, and they're going to get completely manhandled in November because people care way more about, the average person cares way more about, like, I can't afford to do anything.
So
and that's his response. It's incredible.
And what this tweet is actually doing is it's not going after major oil. It's going after that 57. It's going after that 57%, because what the American Petroleum Institute is saying is that roughly 67, 2/3 of drivers, they choose their gas based on price. They're going to find the lowest price. I know that the Wawa down the street is going to be the lowest price. 7-Eleven, that's a little bit closer, sometimes like competes, and if I really need gas, I'll go there. But I can only assume that the other 33% is convenience. You don't have something around, whatever.
Yep.
So if roughly 57% of gas stations are owned by one person, all right, so roughly 20.5% of gas stations are people who own 500 or more. And those are going to be your big corporations. Those are going to be your big conglomerates. Yep. So those people can risk lowering their gas by 1 cent, 2 cents, 3 cents, whatever, because they're going to be collecting it from a lot of different areas. The people he's hurting here, the people that he's really going to injure by making, and you're right, it's an empty threat, but if it were to somehow come to fruition, he is suggesting that the people who own the one gas station, the 57%, they're the people who don't deserve to stay open, because they can't afford to do that. They can't afford to do that. So he's demanding that entrepreneurs, people who are trying to make better lives for themselves, are going to give up their livelihood in order to appease his base, when everybody knows that the gas stations, the 1 cent, 2 cents, 3 cents, 7 cents, whatever it is, like, that is necessary for them to continue their survival. And he is saying, no, you need to do this and I don't care about your livelihood. I need to look good in the face of everybody else.
That's literally what he's doing.
That is literally
what we
what
need to do well in the midterms. So you have to your company has to die. Because like you said, if a fifth of the owners who own these bulk of these stores, they can take the hit on the chin. Although I don't see why they need to. Like that's the other thing. Like, it's not like the people who own these Quick Trip and Buc-ee's and Wawa and Sheetz and all these other major chains. It's not like they have a vested interest in Joe Biden getting reelected or the Democrats doing well in Congress. I mean, yeah, they could leverage it potentially. On some things, I could see how Amazon and Walmart have done to leverage the pushes for higher minimum wages to kill their smaller competition. But this is a case where the margins are already so tight to begin with, they can't afford to do it. Well, right? So they can't afford to take the kind of reduction in price that would be required to help Joe Biden's polling numbers would destroy their profits as well.
So yeah, like Buc-ee's had that kid. God, I don't remember. I think it was in Alabama. It was in Alabama or Arkansas. They had a case that went to the state Supreme Court, and it was. I remember it was Buc-ee's, and I'm pretty certain which one's. It was Arkansas, because that's the one right next to Texas. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was in Arkansas.
Yes.
But Buc-ee's opened when Buc-ee's opened up. They were selling gas at less than what they paid for it. They were selling it for way under, because the goal was to get people in and get them into the stores, because that's where you're going to make all your profit. So Yeah, your Buc-ee's and your Wawa's and your whatever. That Supreme Court case, by the way, said that you cannot sell gas at that low of a price. You have to charge at least what you paid for it.
Oh, the EPA decision they just did?
No, it was an Arkansas Supreme Court case, and
the Arkansas.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so that's what they says. You can't.
So they don't allow price dumping.
They don't allow
for gas.
No, not in Arkansas.
Okay, so then no one can do this.
Well,
so even if they wanted to, they can't.
They can lower it to 7 cents, is what he's saying, and that's where your Wawas and your Buc-ee's and your Sheetz, if you live in the Northeast, they could do that. But your locally owned gas station that is owned by somebody that you see out in the neighborhood who lives 3 houses down from you, he can't afford to do that. So everybody, like we said, 67% of drivers choose based on price. So that means that they're going to go to other gas stations, which is going to hurt those people even more because they're not going to be going inside to get their sodas or to get their snacks or whatever they have in there. So he's literally trying to drive them out of business. He's literally trying to drive them out of business, and the bigger companies, they can afford to do it just a couple of cents just to make it worth people to drive there.
Right. And it won't be enough to make a difference for Biden anyway. Lowering gas prices 3 to 7 cents isn't going to do a damn thing for his poll numbers.
No.
And that's all they can do. They actually can't reduce it by that much less than what they're paying. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thankfully, Joe Biden has unveiled a very aggressive proposal for offshore oil and gas development. Right? Right?
Yeah. It is a very progressive 5-year proposal. It's very progressive, and
very progressive.
While it is just a proposal, and they're looking for it to be completed soon or an agreement to be made on it soon, they say that the final plan will have anywhere from 11 to 0 lease sales.
All the way to 0.
11 being the cap. All the way to 0 lease sales. And then they went on and they said that there will be between 2 auctions a year or none at all. I like the way that they're phrasing this. There's going to be between 2 or none, or there's going to be anywhere from 11 to 0. And if you don't believe, you can Google the plan. That's how it's worded.
I'm going to look this up while you're talking about it. This is funny.
So this is like a weird, bizarre attempt because he's trying to appease the green energy base, the Green New Deal progressive base of the Democrat Party, as well as he wants to appease the oil and gas lobbyists and people who drive cars because rising fuel prices. So he's like, look, I'm doing something, but I'm not doing it. To try to balance pleasing both of these sides, this is not going to do anything because he's not promising that he's going to give out any lease sales. So no oil company is going to actually go in and try to bid on these things. But then he will be able to he's going to turn around and say, well, I said that they have these two auctions a year or none at all, but nobody wanted to auction on them. What he's doing is trying to do a balancing act to make both happy, and he can't do it. It's not something that's going to be possible.
And to your point, I'm reading 2 different releases. One is from the environmental groups and Democrat groups who are angry that he's talking about having any built, and then others from energy groups saying this isn't anywhere near what we need to deal with future increases in demand for energy.
Yep.
So he literally came up with a plan that pisses
everyone
off.
He tried to do a balancing act where both sides were going to be happy, and he ended up making everybody angry.
They're both angry. Yeah. They're both very... I'm reading these right now.
Yeah, they're both very angry.
They're both
and it's not going to help
angry
on either side.
No, they're both angry. Wow.
Because
because he has broken his promise to not allow any new offshore drilling, so that's one thing. And he's not even beginning to deal with the expected increases in demand for fuel over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So he literally pissed everyone else. He should have just either said, listen, we're not doing anything new. I said I was going to not do anything new. Or said, listen, we're going to go based on what's needed. You know, we're going to allow as many leases as possible. At least one side would say, finally. At least one side would be happy.
Yeah, and the way it is with gas prices being what they are, inflation at 8.6%, inflation being at 8.6%, wages being down. Yeah, best economy ever. I know. I get it. He can say that all he wants. But people are stuck in a position where they can't afford to upgrade things in their life. They can't afford to upgrade cars to get EVs. And, you know, that still requires fossil fuels. But, you know, they can't afford to make those switches in their life because they're spending so much money on milk, on eggs, on gas, on bread, on
exactly.
Their rents are going up. The credit card fees are going up because of the new interest rate hikes from the Fed. They can't afford to upgrade anything to a more greener lifestyle, but he's trying to force everybody that way. It is the most bizarre balancing act.
It's insane.
It is insane. It is Jimmy Carter, who's still alive, I think.
Yes.
I haven't checked the news today.
He's still alive.
Okay.
Jimmy Carter said, "I will not rest until there's a president that was worse than I was," and he'll soon be able to pass away peacefully.
Yeah, he's gonna be able to pass away today. But yeah, like Jimmy Carter is going, oh, thank God, I'm going to be remembered as a peanut farmer and a guy who helped build homes for homeless people, and nobody's going to talk about my energy. Not the worst president ever.
Not even the worst president on gas prices.
Yeah.
It's incredible how this has happened.
It's
this really, if you think about it, this is the Biden administration trying to exercise in grappling with the problems with this, with energy prices, and really suffering a bad injury as a result. Speaking of which,
a Los Angeles cop died in May, and his family is saying that it's due to the fault of the LAPD. Get ready, buckle up, buddy. Have you heard this?
Not really.
No. Oh, you're gonna like this.
I looked enough to try to get a segue.
So, Officer Houston Tipping, which honestly, look, that name.
The man's dead. Okay.
No, that name. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of badass. Like, I like the name Houston Tipping. Like, that sounds like a character.
His middle name is
Cow.
His middle name is Cow.
Yeah. 32 years old, died after suffering a spinal cord injury while he was training with officers last month. Police described Tipping's injury and death as the result of a tragic accident that occurred while Tipping was in a grappling exercise with another officer. When they say a grappling exercise with another officer, this is what was really happening. They were doing riot training, and Tipping was acting as a rioter. LAPD Police Chief Michael Moore, not the same one, said Tipping did not sustain any type of laceration to his head and was not struck or beaten during this training session. Okay, sure. As Spike says in Gastonia, release the tape.
Yeah, let's see it.
Let's see that tape. Bradley Gage, the attorney for Tipping's mom, Shirley Huffman, said Tipping suffered multiple terrible injuries over his body. He states that it has to be a beating. Gage has filed a governmental claim on behalf of Huffman that states Tipping is not the first to be effectively murdered during training. The family says they hope the lawsuit will bring an end to the training exercise deaths. Gage said Tipping's family does not believe the official story that his death was a freak accident during training. His injuries, they say, were too severe. One part of his head required staples. He became a quadriplegic. He was unable to breathe on his own, and his heart stopped. So basically, the LAPD trains how they play in the streets.
Yeah. They train how they work.
Yeah. He was pretending to be a rioter in a police training, and he got beat to death by another cop, is what happened.
As part of his training.
As the other cop's training.
That tracks. I saw a video of LAPD cops dispersing what they called a riot. Frankly, it was a protest. It was an angry protest, but it was a protest. No damage was happening. They weren't even on the road. They were just angrily shouting with signs and refusing to disperse. and the cops started shooting them in the head and neck and upper chest with those beanbag guns, which you aren't even supposed to shoot directly at them. You're supposed to shoot at the ground and let it ricochet and hit them in the knees. And instead they're just popping them directly in the head and like the head, like this general area, the head, the neck, and the chest, at like a few feet away. I mean, easily could kill someone that way. And they went and made this guy a quadriplegic and killed him.
Yeah.
Release the tape. Let's see
Release the tape.
Let's see how you train people to deal with riots. How you deal LA cops to deal with.
If you're saying there's no lacerations to the head during the training, show it. Prove it. Yep. Prove what everybody believes to be true. They did. Yes. So they did say that there were like rib fractures and lung punctures and stuff like that. And the lawyer Gage said that those could have come. He conceded that those could have come from them trying to revive him whilst all of this was happening, and that's a possibility.
Yes, that could be
right.
From
that's a possibility.
CPR, yeah.
But the head.
How do you get there? How do you get to needing CPR?
Right. So
yeah. Wow. Yep. No, that tracks. Wait till they discover qualified immunity. So, speaking of interesting names, Dr. Alex Steinschlager has some interesting news for us, Matt.
Yeah. Dr. Alex Steinschlager. Yeah, Steinschlager. I had to look that up so many different ways in order to find it. That's interesting. Is the director of urology at New York Urology Specialists in Midtown Manhattan. And he states that calls about vasectomy procedures have skyrocketed more than 500% since SCOTUS overturned Roe v. Wade.
In Manhattan?
You've already gotten to the joke. Yep, in Manhattan. And the irony is that New York's laws on abortion won't change, like, at all. At all. So what the men in New York are doing is literally helping stop abortion in Midtown Manhattan by getting...
Problem solved! They're thinking ahead. They're thinking of all the tourists that come in, and they impregnate them, and then they go back home.
They go back home to their Louisianas and their Oklahomas and their Mississippis.
Because, all the red staters that are going to
New York.
Going
to New York City for those one-night stands.
So breaking news, a lot of people in Midtown Manhattan don't understand how things work, including apparently their bodies. This is in no way did that decision affect, like, abortion is every bit as legal in all of New York State as it was
before
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. But
good. So good news, whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, men are stepping up.
Yeah. Men are doing what, and they're doing what,
they're doing the things.
They're doing the things. They are ensuring that they will not get somebody pregnant, so that an abortion doesn't have to happen.
And they won't spread their genes even accidentally.
Right.
Which is good, based on... This is self-selection. So this is Darwin is having a final laugh here, because these are people that are so smart that they don't know what just happened, how it doesn't affect them at all. But thankfully, we don't have to worry about future generations being equally stupid.
That's like like the people in LA that were like protesting, and like probably one of the ones, but the guy had the flamethrower and he was firing it at a cop outside of a pregnancy center. And I was like, guys, you're in LA. Like, the laws are the same.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what Houston tipping was training for.
I mean, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
So those are some interesting stories. So, folks, we got a really cool episode tomorrow. So we just finished recording it before we did this. We interviewed Connor Boyack, who's the co-author? No, he's the author.
He's the co-author.
There's an illustrator. He's the author of the Tuttle Twins book series. and he's also involved with a bunch of other really cool stuff. And we had an awesome discussion with him about what he's working on and the future of education in America and the school choice movement and homeschooling and teachers unions. And it was just an awesome discussion. And the first part will be available tomorrow at 8 p.m. The second part will be available this weekend at 8 p.m., but only if you are a subscriber to Muddy Waters Media. So you know what to do. Go to anchor.fm/muddywaters/subscribe. Sign up today. You will get access to that second part of our interview with Connor, as well as every single week you will get exclusive Muddy Waters subscriber-only episodes and other content. You will also get an ad-free listening experience on Anchor and Spotify, and you will get discounts on the Muddy Waters Media Store and partner stores as well. So tune in and hang out with us tomorrow. Thanks again for hanging out with us today. And where we're going,
we don't need roads.